Most people go through life comfortable, soft, avoiding pain, avoiding the hard work that forges real strength. They want success, they want growth, but they don't want to suffer for it. The truth is, life doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't care about your feelings. Life will break you down if you're weak, and it will keep testing you until you decide to fight back. Mental toughness is not something you're born with. It's something you earn every single day by doing the things you don't want to do, by showing up when your mind screams at you to quit. If you want to become the mentally toughest version of yourself, you have to stop negotiating with weakness. Stop listening to that voice in your head that tells you to settle and start stepping into the pain that will make you unbreakable. When you hear the phrase, embrace the suck, it's not just a catchy line. It's a principle for life. Most people want things to be easy, comfortable, smooth, and predictable, but comfort is the very thing that kills growth. The moment life gets hard, most people run, they quit, they avoid, because they've been conditioned to believe that pain is something to escape from. But the truth is, pain is the raw material that shapes you into the strongest, hardest version of yourself. Every time you step into something that sucks, every time you willingly lean into discomfort instead of backing away from it, you are building armor. You are building a version of yourself that can withstand the storms that break everybody else. Think about how muscles grow. They don't grow when you lift light weights that are easy for you. They grow when you push them to failure, when they burn, when the fibers tear and repair. That's exactly how mental toughness is built. You don't develop grit by living easy. You develop it by doing the hard, miserable, uncomfortable things over and over until what used to break you becomes your new normal. Embracing the suck is not glamorous. It means getting up at 4 a.m. when your body begs you to sleep. It means running in the rain when everyone else is staying dry. It means studying when your mind is tired, working when you feel drained, and pushing when every part of you wants to stop. The world will never hand you greatness on a silver platter. It will only hand you opportunities disguised as pain, as setbacks, as challenges that test your will. The suck is life's way of asking you, how bad do you want this? How far are you willing to go? How much can you endure before you break? Every time you say yes to the suck, you answer those questions with your actions, not your words. The problem is, most people are addicted to comfort. Comfort foods, comfortable routines, comfortable jobs, comfortable excuses. But comfort never built warriors. Comfort never made leaders. Comfort never forged champions. Only discomfort, only suffering, only struggle creates those who stand out from the crowd. That's why you see people who are handed everything in life often collapse under pressure, while those who have gone through the suck, those who have been broken and rebuilt by hardship, are the ones who stand unshaken when adversity hits. To embrace the suck means to stop negotiating with yourself. When your mind says, this is too much, we don't need to do this today, let's quit. You don't argue, you don't debate, you don't delay. You push forward anyway. That's how you rewire the brain. That's how you callous your mind. You train it to understand that discomfort is not a signal to stop. It's a signal to grow. The suck is the classroom where toughness is taught, and every hard moment is a lesson if you're willing to sit with it, learn from it, and endure it long enough to become stronger. People think embracing the suck means just tolerating pain, but it's deeper than that. It's about learning to find power in the pain, to actually look forward to the hard stuff, because you know that's where the edge is, that's where transformation happens. When you're cold, tired, hungry, drained, and you keep moving forward, you're not just surviving, you're proving to yourself that you are far more capable than you ever imagined. That proof stacks up. Each time you face the suck and push through it, you stack another brick of belief, another layer of resilience, another reason why you can handle anything life throws at you. The suck will expose you. It will show you the truth about yourself. Most people don't want that mirror held up to them because it reveals weakness, laziness, excuses. But if you embrace it, if you accept that mirror, you also see something else. You see the opportunity to fix it, to grow it, to strengthen it. The suck isn't your enemy, it's your ally. It's the battlefield where weakness dies and strength is born. When you step into it, not just once, but every single day, you start to change. You start to develop an edge that can't be faked, can't be bought, can't be handed down. It's earned in sweat, in grind, in misery, in persistence. That's why embrace the suck isn't just about getting through tough times. It's about choosing them. It's about deliberately putting yourself in situations that test you, that break you, that strip away your comfort so you can build the real you underneath. It's about doing the run when nobody's watching, taking the cold shower when nobody cares, putting in the reps when nobody will ever clap for you. Because those little acts of embracing the suck stack up into something massive. They build a version of you that doesn't crumble, doesn't quit, doesn't fold under pressure. They build a version of you that knows suffering is not punishment. It's the path to greatness. Every single one of us has a voice in our head that constantly negotiates, constantly looks for the easy way out, constantly whispers, "You've done enough. Take a break. You don't need to push any further." That voice shows up when the alarm rings at 4 a.m. and tells you to hit snooze. It shows up in the middle of a workout and tells you to stop early because you've already done more than most people. It shows up when life gets uncomfortable and tells you to retreat back into safety. That voice is the inner bitch voice. It's the side of your mind that's weak, soft, fragile, and always looking for comfort. And here's the truth. If you don't learn to silence it, it will control you, it will dictate your decisions, and it will keep you stuck living a watered down version of your life. The inner bitch voice is seductive because it sounds reasonable. It doesn't scream at you. It negotiates with you. It says things like, "You worked hard yesterday. You deserve to rest today." Or, "This task is too big. Let's do it tomorrow." Or, "Nobody else is pushing this hard. Why should you?" That voice disguises weakness as logic. It convinces you that quitting is smart, that lowering your standard is practical, that comfort is deserved. And that's why most people live average lives. They listen to the inner bitch voice and mistake it for common sense. Silencing that voice doesn't mean it disappears forever. It will never fully go away. Even the toughest people in the world hear it. But the difference between those who rise and those who settle is who wins the conversation. When the bitch voice says quit, the mentally tough voice says keep going. When the bitch voice says slow down, the tougher voice says speed up. When the bitch voice says it's enough, the stronger voice says we haven't even started. That's the fight happening in your head every single day. The battle isn't against your circumstances. The real war is against that voice inside that wants to keep you soft. The only way to silence it is through action. You can't talk your way out of it. You can't argue with it. You can't negotiate with it. Because the moment you start reasoning with it, you've already given it power. The only way to shut it down is to do the thing it doesn't want you to do. The alarm goes off and it says sleep. You get up immediately. The workout gets hard and it says stop. You do 2 more reps. You're exhausted and it says skip today. You show up anyway. That's how you silence it. Not with words, but with consistent action that drowns it out. You need to understand that the inner bitch voice will always sound louder when you're close to breaking a limit. The moment you're about to level up, that voice screams because it knows you're entering new territory and it wants to pull you back into the old you. That's why you can't trust it. It's not there to protect you. It's there to keep you the same. And if you keep listening to it year after year, you'll wake up one day realizing you left your potential on the table, realizing you lived your whole life in the comfort zone because that weak voice convinced you it was the smart thing to do. Silencing the inner bitch voice is about developing a standard where your actions are no longer controlled by your feelings. Feelings say, "I'm tired of it." Discipline says, "Do it anyway." Feelings say, I don't feel like it. Discipline says, feelings don't matter. Every time you follow discipline over feelings, the inner bitch voice loses a little more power. You shrink it by starving it, by refusing to feed it with compliance. On the other hand, every time you listen to it, every time you give in, you make it stronger, you let it grow louder, and you become its prisoner. Think of the inner bitch voice as an opponent. Every day you either beat it or it beats you. When you decide to push 1 mile further on your run, you win. When you decide to read instead of scrolling your phone, you win. When you decide to work while everyone else is slacking, you win. And those wins stack. Over time, the strong voice in your head, the one that says, stay hard, starts to get louder, and the weak one starts to fade. That's how champions are built. Not by talent, not by luck, but by consistently silencing that inner weakness until it has no say in their lives. The hardest part is that silencing it never ends. There's no finish line. The inner bitch voice will always be there because it's human nature to crave comfort. But mental toughness is choosing every single day not to obey it. It's recognizing it for what it is, the death of potential, the killer of dreams, the anchor that keeps people average. And the only way to rise above average is to silence it again and again until you've built a habit of action that doesn't negotiate with weakness. When you lift weights, your hands develop calluses. At first, the skin tears, it burns, it hurts to even grip the bar. But the more you keep lifting, the more your skin adapts, the more it hardens, the more it becomes resistant. Eventually, what used to cut you open doesn't even bother you anymore because your hands have developed armor. The same thing happens with your mind. Life is going to tear at you, stress you, put pressure on you. And if you avoid those situations, you stay soft, weak, sensitive to the smallest friction. But if you expose yourself to the grind over and over, if you deliberately face pain, fear, doubt, rejection, and struggle, your mind starts to develop calluses. Those calluses are mental armor, and they make you unstoppable in situations where other people collapse. The reason most people fold under pressure is because their minds are too smooth, too untested. They've avoided discomfort their whole lives, so the first time something goes wrong, they fall apart. They get rejected once and never try again. They fail one time and give up forever. They face one setback and convince themselves life is unfair. That's not because they're weak people. It's because they never built calluses on their mind. They never gave themselves the repetitions of hardship that make a person resilient. Just like muscles don't grow without resistance, your mind doesn't toughen without pressure. You can't expect to have a callused mind if all you do is chase comfort and avoid challenge. Callusing your mind means doing the things that hurt, not just once, but over and over until they stop hurting the same way. The first cold shower shocks you, but the 10th one is easier, and the 100th one is normal. The first 5 a.m. wake up feels like hell, but the 100th one becomes routine. The first long run feels impossible, but after weeks of doing it, your body adapts and your mind adapts even faster. What felt like punishment becomes part of who you are. That's how calluses work. They transform pain into strength. They take something that once broke you and make it something you can shrug off without thought. A callused mind is dangerous because it doesn't crack under pressure. When everyone else is complaining about how hard it is, the callused mind is calm because it's been there before. When others are panicking, the callused mind is steady. When others quit, the callused mind finds another gear. That's why people who have been through hell and didn't quit walk differently, speak differently, and carry themselves differently. They're not pretending to be tough. They've been tested so many times that toughness has become part of their DNA. And that only comes from exposing yourself to the grind. Not once in a while, but daily until your brain stops recognizing struggle as something unusual. The thing about callusing your mind is that it's not a one-time project. Calluses fade if you stop lifting. Mental calluses fade if you stop testing yourself. That's why toughness has to be a lifestyle. It's not about doing something hard once and telling the story forever. It's about doing hard things every day so the callus never wears off. You have to constantly look for ways to challenge yourself, to break routine, to put yourself in situations where your weakness gets exposed, and then work until that weakness becomes strength. That's the process. You tear it, you hurt, you heal, you harden, and then you do it again. Losing your mind isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about building control. It doesn't mean you don't feel pain or doubt. It means those things no longer stop you. The pain is still there, but it no longer dictates your actions. The doubt is still there, but it no longer paralyzes you. The fear is still there, but it no longer holds you back. The callus creates distance between your feelings and your actions, so you can keep moving forward regardless of what your emotions are screaming at you. And here's the reality. Nobody builds a calloused mind by accident. You don't stumble into resilience. You forge it. You forge it by making decisions that most people avoid. You forge it by staying in the fight longer than is comfortable. You forge it by leaning into the things that scare you. Every rejection you endure, every failure you push through, every painful workout, every lonely night of grinding when nobody else is watching, that's another layer on your callus. Over time, those layers stack until your mind becomes unrecognizable compared to who you were before. You become someone who doesn't flinch when life hits, someone who doesn't fold when adversity comes, someone who doesn't need perfect conditions to perform. That's why the mentally toughest people are often those who've been through the most. Life put them through fire, but instead of running from it, they stood in it, they endured it, and they came out hardened. They didn't escape the pain. They absorbed it and let it shape them into something unbreakable. That's the mindset you need if you want to be the toughest version of yourself. You have to look at discomfort as the weights that build your brain. You have to see struggle as the gym for your mind. And you have to keep showing up day after day until the calluses are thick enough that nothing penetrates. Life is not fair. Life doesn't care about your plans, your feelings, or your comfort. At some point, it's going to hit you with pain, with loss, with failure, with betrayal, with setbacks you never saw coming. You're going to get knocked down, and most people stay down because they weren't ready for it. They thought life was supposed to be smooth. They thought success would come without resistance. But if you really want to be mentally tough, you have to accept that life will hit. And when it does, you don't crumble, you don't retreat, you don't make excuses. You stay hard. Staying hard means you refuse to let circumstances dictate your strength. It means you refuse to break when the weight of the world tries to crush you. Everybody is tough when things are going their way. Everybody can smile, train, work hard, and be motivated when life feels good. But toughness isn't measured when everything is smooth. Toughness is measured when chaos shows up, when you lose your job, when your relationship fails, when you get injured, when the project you poured your soul into falls apart, when nothing seems to be working. That's when the real test begins. That's when life is asking you, will you stay hard or will you soften? Most people soften. They start complaining, blaming, pointing fingers, and drowning in self-pity. But staying hard means you push back against life, even when life is shoving you to the ground. Staying hard is about being unshakable. It's about having such a deep reservoir of resilience that no matter how many times you get hit, you rise back up. You may be bloodied, tired, and broken down, but you don't quit. That's what separates those who achieve greatness from those who live in regret. Greatness isn't built in perfect conditions. It's built in the chaos, in the storms, in the middle of the mess. You don't get stronger by avoiding pain. You get stronger by surviving it, by using it as fuel, by letting it carve you into something sharper. The problem is, most people let life harden them in the wrong way. When they get hit, they become bitter, angry, resentful. They let the pain poison them instead of strengthen them. But staying hard doesn't mean becoming cold. It means becoming unbreakable. It means you take the pain and channel it into discipline, focus, and drive. It means you look life in the face after it knocks you down and say, That all you got? That's the mentality that allows you to keep moving forward, no matter how brutal things get. Staying hard also means preparing before the storm comes. You don't wait for life to hit to start building resilience. You train every day. You do the hard things daily. So when adversity shows up, you're already conditioned to handle it. If you only rely on motivation, you'll collapse when life gets ugly because motivation dies in the face of pain. But if you've built discipline, if you've trained yourself to stay hard through small daily struggles, then when the big battles come, you'll have the strength to endure them. Preparation is key. Every workout you don't want to do, every morning you force yourself to rise, every uncomfortable decision you make is armor you're putting on for the battles you haven't even seen yet. When life hits, staying hard is also about perspective. Most people see struggle as punishment, but the tough see it as opportunity. Opportunity to grow, to prove themselves, to become stronger. If you reframe hardship as training, then even the worst situations become fuel. Every setback becomes a chance to practice resilience. Every failure becomes a rep for your mental toughness. Every loss becomes a new layer of callus on your mind. That's why people who embrace the suck and stay hard become unstoppable. They're constantly flipping pain into power. Life is relentless. It's going to test you again and again. The question is whether you're going to fold each time or whether you're going to plant your feet, grit your teeth, and keep going. Staying hard is about refusing to let life break your will. You may bend, but you don't snap. You may hurt, but you don't struggle, but you don't stop. Because once you prove to yourself that you can endure the worst and keep moving, you unlock a level of strength that most people never experience. You realize that there is no situation that can truly defeat you unless you choose to give up. That's what it means to stay hard. It's a choice. It's a mindset. It's a lifestyle of refusing to be broken. No matter what life throws at you, motivation is fragile. It feels good in the moment. It gets you hyped up. It makes you want to start something, but it never lasts. You can watch a video, hear a speech, read a quote, and feel unstoppable for an hour, maybe a day, maybe even a week, but eventually the excitement fades. That's why so many people start strong and finish weak. They rely on motivation to carry them, and when it disappears, they quit. Motivation is built on emotion, and emotions change every single day. One day you feel like working, the next day you don't. If your entire system is built on how you feel, you'll never be consistent, and without consistency, you'll never achieve anything worthwhile. That's where discipline comes in. Discipline is what takes over when motivation dies. Discipline is the engine that doesn't care how you feel. It only cares about what needs to be done. Discipline is about showing up every day, no matter what. It's about putting in the work when you're tired, when you're stressed, when you're bored, when you don't see immediate results. Discipline is not glamorous. It's not loud or flashy. It's silent, boring, repetitive, but it's also unstoppable. Discipline is waking up at 4 a.m., even when nobody's watching. Discipline is doing the workout even when you hate it. Discipline is studying when your mind is foggy, grinding when you're exhausted, moving forward when everything in you says stop. That's why discipline will always beat motivation, because motivation is inconsistent, but discipline is constant. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel. It asks what's required, and then it gets done. Most people think they lack motivation, but what they really lack is discipline. They think if I was more motivated, I would work harder. But the truth is, motivation isn't the answer because it's never there when you need it most. Discipline is. Motivation might get you started, but discipline keeps you going long after the excitement is gone. That's why successful people don't rely on being motivated. They rely on being disciplined. They build habits and systems that don't depend on feelings. They create non-negotiables. They don't wait until they feel like doing the work. They just do it. And because they do it every day, regardless of mood, the results stack up. That's how greatness is built, not on bursts of energy, but on relentless discipline. Discipline is freedom. That sounds like a paradox, but it's the truth. When you have discipline, you control your life. You're not a slave to your moods, your cravings, your laziness. You decide what gets done and you execute. Without discipline, you're controlled by how you feel, and how you feel is unreliable. One bad day and your whole system falls apart. But with discipline, you're steady. No matter what's happening around you, you stay on track. That's the kind of power discipline gives you. It doesn't just build your body or your career, it builds your identity. You start to see yourself as someone who follows through no matter what, and that self-image fuels even more discipline. You become unstoppable because you know you can depend on yourself to do the work even in the worst conditions. Discipline is also the foundation for mental toughness. When you practice discipline, you're constantly silencing the weak voice in your head. You're proving to yourself over and over that feelings don't dictate your actions. Each time you do something you didn't want to do, you build another layer of mental callous. Over time, this creates a person who doesn't even need motivation because they've built a lifestyle where discipline is automatic. It's no longer a decision, it's just who you are. That's the real goal, not to feel motivated every day, but to be so disciplined that you don't even think about whether or not you want to do something. You just do it because it's part of your DNA. Discipline is a skill. And like any skill, it's trained through repetition. The more you practice it, the stronger it gets. You don't need to start huge. Start with something small. Wake up when you said you would. Make your bed. Finish the task you promised yourself you'd finish. Each small act of discipline builds momentum, and momentum is everything. Over time, those small acts turn into massive achievements because discipline compounds. One disciplined decision stacked on top of another creates a life of consistency, and consistency is what separates average from great. Discipline is the secret that everyone knows but few are willing to practice because it's not fun, it's not easy, and it doesn't give instant rewards. But it's the only thing that guarantees results at the end of the day. Motivation is a spark, but discipline is the fire. Motivation might get you moving, but discipline keeps you moving. Motivation might inspire you, but discipline transforms you. If you want to become the mentally toughest version of yourself, you can't depend on feeling like it because feelings will betray you every time. You have to build discipline so strong that no matter what you're going through, no matter how tired, bored, or unmotivated you are, the work still gets done.